Welcome to Speed Kolor, a podcast and YouTube channel about custom motorcycle culture. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get all the latest content. You can also follow Speed Kolor on Instagram. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey there, how are you doing? I hope you're well. I hope everything is good for you, as it is here at Speed Kolor. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. I got looking at the videos and looking at some of the views and the, the view rate or whatever, some of the statistics. And it appears that the XS650 videos were getting a fair amount of attention. And, I know it's not Harley stuff, but metric choppers are cool and, vintage stuff is cool. So I guess vintage metric stuff is really cool. Anyway, I've been working on this XS650. I've done a couple episodes. I wanted to do another update. We are just about ready to tear it down to the frame and start frame molding. I talked about it. I think I talked about it before. I don't know if I did. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've always been... Whenever I've done frame molding or body work of any kind, I guess, I've always done filler on bare steel, cleaned, obviously, ground, whatever you want to call it. So I've always gone direct to substrate. This time, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I've done some reading on it and looking into it. And with the new fillers that are available and the new epoxy primers, House of Kolor makes an excellent product, that kind of stuff. I'm going to try priming my parts, my frame, my tank, my fender first, and then applying the filler on the primed surface. I think that's going to... Not that living in Western Canada, we don't have a huge problem with corrosion or anything like that. Living in Ontario or out on the East Coast, if you give it any time at all, bare metal exposed to the elements, bare steel, corrosion starts really fast. And then that's underneath the filler and can lead to issues down the road. And I want my stuff to last and be good for a long time. So what I've decided to do on this build is get that primer on, get to bare steel, get it clean, get that primer on right away so that the air is locked out, the moisture is locked out, it's good. Will I ever notice a difference in my lifetime? Probably not. But I just think it's going to make for a better, long-lasting finish. Anybody who's got experience with it, if you've tried this before, if you're a professional body guy, whatever, man, I would love to hear your opinion on it. But my spin on this is good quality epoxy primer, House of Kolor, KD 3000. I'm going to go coat everything with that first, prime everything first, then with a good quality filler, go ahead and do my frame molding and everything. And then, of course, more KD 3000. And I always work with House of Kolor. And I know there's other good paints out there. There's other good products. They're probably less expensive, more economic, whatever. And in the world we're in right now, maybe there's a Canadian product out there, and, that's all great. I learned how to spray with House of Kolor, I don't know, 50 years ago. And that's no joke. I'm not kidding. That's 50 years ago. I've got a fondness for it. I like it. You know what? It's a good product. And I think John Kosmowski's a super cool dude. And I love the way the product came along. And, I just really feel comfortable with it. So whether I pay a few bucks more, whether, wherever the product is made, none of those things are going to convince me that I should try something different. I like the House of Kolor product. So that's what I'm going to use. That's where we're at. Alfred and I are getting ready to strip this down. I wanted to do an update episode, show you a bunch of things. I'm going to take a little bit different direction here, and you don't need to see me all the time. You've probably seen too much of me already. I want to film closer up all the different things I'm going to talk about. So I have a camera I'm going to hold. Please bear with me. As many of you might know, I have something that unfortunately impacts people when they get older, or some people when they get older, and that's essential tremors. So I do have tremors from time to time. I had a little shot of whiskey. Hopefully that'll smooth me out a little bit here. Red Bank. Oh man, nice stuff. That's my answer for essential tremors. But anyway, I've had a little shot of whiskey. Hopefully I'm smooth enough to hold the camera fairly steady. If it shakes a little bit, bear with me. It is what it is, and I can't afford to have somebody here filming for me or turn this into some kind of professional production. So we'll make the best with what we got. So let's jump into it. I'm just going to work from the front of the bike back. Hopefully I don't repeat too much of what I've talked about before, but we've made a whole bunch of new changes. We made a lot of progress, really happy. And as I say, right now we are ready to rip it down right to the frame. Go ahead and start getting things ready. I think we're going to finish off all the welding on the frame and everything. There'll be none of that to do after we get some primer on this. And we'll go from there. Hopefully we haven't missed anything. I don't think we have. Yeah, let's see where it goes. Okay, I'm going to start at the headlight here in a second with you. All right, so here we go with the headlight. And forgive all the junk in the background. Garage is a little tight for space this winter. I may be a little bit overpopulated, you might say. I have a new van project that I'll be showing you soon. But for now, just, the shelves in the background, forgive me. I know it's a little confusing, but it is what it is. Okay, so looking at the headlight, and I'll try and get a different angle here for you. The headlight, I am going to admit, this is not a super quality piece. I ordered this off Amazon. I think it's probably Chinese made. It is not a robust piece. It's not the kind of product I like to work with necessarily. However, it has the grille front, and it has that swoopy kind of look to it. And if you look kind of overall at the bike, something I've tried to do, and I'm going to switch to the other camera for a second. Something I've tried to do on this build is I wanted everything to kind of swoop to the back. So the tank, the bars, the headlight, the top of the sissy bar, the back fender, I wanted everything to flow that way, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think we've done a good job of getting everything to flow back and down as much as we could. So I'm pretty happy with that. Back to the headlight area. Okay. So it's looking pretty good. I like that headlight. It's pretty wild looking. It's kind of crazy. It's going to be easy to set up. Not thrilled with the mounting arrangement. It's not bad. Once I polish up pieces, I'll do a little bit. I might trim some things, round some corners. We'll make it look okay, but that's the one part that I'm not really thrilled about. And then the turn signals. Turn signals match the ones that I'm using on the rear, and I've shown you those before. They're very nice. And what I did, and hopefully we'll stay in focus here when we do this, what I did was I machined the mounts to match what I've done for foot pegs and stuff. So again, I'm trying to keep that, here I'm going to switch to the other camera. I'm trying to keep that look, that ribbed look. So it kind of comes from the cooling fins. I wanted to keep that line look so that the headlight has the grille, the turn signals have the grille. Unfortunately, they go in different directions, horizontal versus vertical. I'm not going to get too hung up on that. I would have preferred that I could keep everything going the same way, probably horizontal. But then you have things like axle spacers where they have to be vertical. There's really no option to do that. So there's a mix, but I think it's going to work out. And unfortunately, the way these pieces are made, I can't turn the grille 90 degrees and have them match up. But like I say, I'm digging the way the grille pattern looks like cooling fins, looks like the foot pegs I've machined, looks like the spacers I've machined. Everything's kind of tying together. So that's the headlight and front turn signals on the Springer front end. I love the grille look with the springs. I think that's really cool. The springs tie in really nicely. So again, very happy with all of that. Let's move on to the next thing here. So I know I've shown you the exhaust. We've seen the exhaust before, and it's worked out fine, and it'll get sanded and chrome plated. Going to be a lot of chrome on this bike. You know, I like chrome. I think chrome is super cool. It's the way I grew up. It's what I grew up with, and I like it. Powder coating's okay. Notice I said it's okay. I'll admit, guys, I'm not a big lover. I used to own a powder coating shop. I have respect for powder coating and everything, but I don't know. I'm a chrome and polished aluminum guy, and I think it's going to make a comeback. I think chroming processes are going to get better. We've got an excellent shop here in Calgary. And I think as it improves and you know, as manufacturers find out that powder coating is just kind of getting old and everybody's tired, well, maybe not everybody's tired of it. Some people are tired of it. I think things might change. Anyway, for me, chrome and polished is the way to go. So moving back here to the clutch and shifter setup, and let me keep the shifter knob in place for you there. This is from Beck Built Fabs. I have changed, or Beck Built Fab, pardon me. I have made some changes to it. Dustin's setup is the old, what were they called before? Jump Street, I think it was. Jay over at Jump Street. Good design. You know, looks to me like it's going to work just fine. I have made some modifications because I wanted to do things differently. So the shifter, typically from Beck Built, comes, and let's see if my hand will work here, comes out behind here, sort of under the seat, a jockey shift for sure. I didn't want a jockey shift. I wanted this shifter ball to be prominent. That was a big deal to me. It has to do with my son, who unfortunately is not with me anymore. But that was something that Thomas and I were going to use at one time, and I just really feel like I wanted that in this project. So I've changed the linkages, the way it works. Not the way it works. I haven't changed the way it works. I've changed the geometry, and I think it's worked out really well. Beck Built Fab foot pegs as well, and foot clutch. Nice pieces, you know, bronze, oil impregnated bushings and everything, like really good stuff, really nice quality. I've, you know, put my own foot pegs on there. I've put my own toe pegs on. I machined those. You know, the spacers on the linkages, I machined those as well. So I've just changed things around a little bit, but it's really the Beck Built system or process, and it's going to work just great. So I'm really happy with the way that's all worked out. Moving down to the kickstand, I'm going to admit, I agonized over the kickstand, and right now I haven't tack welded it yet, but I'll show you this. Let me see if I can hold this while I do this. So I'm pretty happy with this. When this retracts, it's going to be pretty cool back there. It'll go a little bit further back. It's hitting on the vice grip right now. Alfred sourced these red skateboard wheels from Temu or whatever, however you pronounce that Chinese outfit. So he brought one in for me. We love it. The red's going to work with the paint on the bike. That's going to be great. Brent down at PFX had this used, I think this is a TC Bros style stand. He had a used one sitting down there, and he said, I'll part with this. So that has worked out pretty well. I was hoping for something a little bit more creative, but I got to be honest with you, that red skateboard wheel, I think, makes it really different. It's going to be very cool when it's actually on, when the stand is down and the bike is leaning on it. I dig it. And then what we're going to do back here, we've got the TC Bros chain tensioner on there. Because of the geometry of the hardtail setup, I did have to lengthen this part of the chain tensioner. The original arm wasn't long enough to really do the job there. I've had the chain on it and got it all set up. But anyway, I lengthened that arm a little bit. That will all get chromed, of course, to match the foot peg hardware and the shifter. This will all be chrome plated. So that is in place now and works, and I've had the chain on it, and now it gets enough, I don't know, there's enough angle there. It works the way it should. It puts tension on that, on the chain on the bottom. Now with these skateboard wheels that Alfred found, the extra width is kind of nice, and they are a bigger diameter than the wheel I was going to use, and even the wheel that originally came with the TC Bros. So that should work out really, really well, and Alfred is ordering up 2 more of those wheels for me. One is going to go on the chain tensioner, and okay, spoiler alert, the other one's going to go on the kickstart. And I'm not, I'll be honest with you, I'm not totally sure how that's going to work yet. We'll see how it works out. I think I can make it work. It's going to be very different, but I think I can make it work. And I think overall, if I can get this all to work out right, having 3 skateboard wheels all identical on the bike is going to be kind of cool. And we know that skateboards tie into choppers, and that's all good stuff. Going back to the engine, this is another Beck built fab piece, that stainless 1:2 intake. Great design, great product. I gotta tell you, Dustin's stainless welding, his TIG welding, absolutely beautiful. Man, I don't know how that guy does that. It's so fine. His welds are just really, really nice. I love them. In this case, we took the manifold as he would typically make them. I'm a little bit, what am I? I find that the carburetor is kind of hitting the bottom of the back of my thigh, just a little bit. You can see where the seat is. You can imagine where the foot peg is there, that, my leg might have a hard time getting around that carburetor, but it's not much. There's just a little pressure from the carb onto the back of my leg. So what I'm going to do, originally I was going to modify the intake. I wasn't really looking forward to cutting it and changing the angle, which I think would do the trick. And the other night, Alfred said something that really made me think. He said, how big are the spacers between the head and the intake manifold? Because it is touching up at the top at the rocker box there. Well, I guess that's still the head, actually. That's not the rocker box yet. But it's touching up there. And he said, how thick are your spacers? And that made me think, I actually have about, I measured it, and it'd be close to an inch. I'm going to call it 3/4 of an inch. That I could add between the head and the intake. That's going to move that carburetor back another 3/4 of an inch. I think that's going to be really good. So before I go and cut the intake, I'm going to make, and I have right here, I have a couple pieces that I picked up this morning from Metal Supermarket in Calgary. Great place. If anybody's looking for metal for fabrication and stuff, I don't know who you use now. Metal Supermarket, I love those guys. They got great products, good pricing. I mean, fair for, odds and sods, if you will. Certainly you're not getting the same price you would get as an industrial volume customer. But given that you can just go in and pick stuff up and everything, pricing's great. I really appreciate those guys. So I have 2 pieces to make 2 spacers. That's going to push that carburetor back about 3/4 of an inch. And I think that's going to do the trick. It's going to be really close. It's also going to allow me to pull that shifter back, which I can adjust with the linkages down here and the rod ends and stuff. So I might be able to pull that shifter back just a little bit, which again, I would like. I kind of like to have the ball more up in this area. So, back a couple inches. So that's what we're doing on the intake. Seat, you've seen before. I did decide to add passenger foot pegs, because I'm also doing a pillion seat on the fender in front of the sissy bar there. And that pillion seat is going to hide my moto gadget and any other electronics. Most of the electronics. I'll clarify that in a second. So, knowing that I'm going to do a pillion seat there, I decided to go with passenger foot pegs. I machined those to match the main ones. They're just little pegs. They don't have to be very big. I don't know if they're going to get used that much, and whoever's sitting on the pillion seat, which will never be a guy as long as I'm at the handlebars, but whoever the chick is sitting on that pillion seat, she'll just have to live with those pegs. That's what they are. I haven't finish welded them yet. They're tacked in place. Again, because of my tremors, because I'm not a professional welder, etc., I don't like trying to weld that on the frame in the position it's in. Seeing how we're going to tear it down anyway, it's super easy to just lay the frame on its side, get the weld horizontal, make it easier to work around there. I weld much better when I can get things into a position that I'm comfortable with. So that's what we're going to do there. Moving down into the bottom here, you can see that I have the anti-gravity battery now tucked away down there. Had to make lots of modifications, and I'm not done yet. I got to do some more grinding and shaping on it and stuff. Love anti-gravity batteries, lithium iron phosphate, good technology, no issues at all. But I'm going to be really honest, and it is not an anti-gravity product. They do sell it to go with their batteries, but the battery mount case, well, it's not a case, it's a mount, a battery box, I guess is what I should say. Not impressed. You know, it works. The design is okay. The quality, not great. I was not impressed with the quality, so I'm not gonna take a shot at who made it. Like I say, the design is good. I see where they were going. I just think the quality of the thing could be way, way better than it is. So we'll leave it at that. But it did work out. I modified it enough. And what I had to do, let me just scoot around to the other side here. What I had to do, or I didn't have to do, I was looking for a way to mount this and a place to mount it. And it was driving me nuts for a while. I was having a real hard time with it. And finally, I sat down and took a look at it, and I thought, wow, I could mount that right off of the same tabs that the master cylinder mounts off of. And I thought, well, I could also make the spacers to match all the other stuff I've been doing, like the linkage back to the master cylinder and the foot pegs and the toe pegs. And I thought that'd be cool if everything matched up. That's what I did. I machined a couple spacers. I threaded the spacers, so they're actually the mounts. The bolts come through the master cylinder, through the tabs, into those spacers. I got some Teflon, not Teflon, nylon washers in between the spacer and the tab. You know, once the frame is painted, those tabs will be painted just to prevent some ugly scratching and stuff. I'm going to use those nylon washers in there. Between the master cylinder and the tab, there is a chrome spacer. Those are really nice pieces from Lowbrow. Who does Lowbrow get their hardware from? Colony. Nice stuff, good quality stuff. Very expensive for Canadians now with counter tariffs. By the time you get them here, I need to look for a Canadian source for those or a Chinese source. But those I had, and you know, I can't criticize them. I can criticize the tariffs, and I can criticize the U.S. president. I can't criticize the parts at Lowbrow. Good quality stuff, and I just wish it was still. I wish it was still reasonable to deal with those guys. It's not, unfortunately, for Canadians, and we'll have to see what the future brings. But that's that. So I did get the battery mounted. The other thing we did while we're on this side is we had the brake rod, the caliper rod, whatever you want to call that, made that up and got the tabs in place and everything. And it fits in there real nice. There's just real nice clearance between the sissy bar and that. So the whole brake setup worked out really, really well. That brings us to, actually, before I talk about the back end, I just want to come around here again. And I want to show you this. I'm really happy with this look. This is what I wanted, is that big space under the seat. Now, you know, with the car, still got to put an intake on it, a cleaner, air cleaner on it and whatever. However, most of that space is going to stay there. You can see through to the exhaust on the other side. Really, really digging the way it worked out with no front mount on the fender, nothing to get in the way there. I just really like that big open space. I think that's going to be very cool. So that's worked out nicely. There's the battery down in the bottom. Everything is good. So going back to the fender and the sissy bar, and if you watched the previous episodes, you know that I screwed up on the measurements on the sissy bar, and it came in and it was way too short to get to the axle plate. So what I did there is I cut the sissy bar, I machined those pieces of stainless with the same look as the foot pegs and everything, that ribbed look. I machined those, cut the sissy bar, and I had Lance up at Hellbent weld those in for me. That worked out really, really nice. I think they look great. I'm very happy with that. Then the mounting system, I think, is going to be really good. Well, it's already really good. What I did there is I made, and you know what? I'm going to switch to the other camera for a second. It's going to be easier for this. So what I did back here for the sissy bar, I made these little pieces of stainless and turned them down to fit into this, this bung. So the bung is regular steel. The little piece here is stainless. I've welded this little adapter, mount, whatever you want to call it, to the sissy bar. It goes into this steel bung. There's a shoulder there, so it only goes in as far as the shoulder. And then I drilled it on the other side and threaded it for a 1/4 inch course bolt. So from the inside of the fender, the bolt goes through this bung and into this threaded piece on the sissy bar. So now the sissy bar is bolted into this, and this bung, now I'm going to weld to the fender. So the bung will be welded to the fender. When you put the sissy bar on, just spread it, get it into the bungs, tighten, put it into the bungs, and then put the bolt on the inside. Going to make this super tight, super strong with the mounts that I did for the turn signals, which aren't in place right now, the rear turn signals and the fender. So you've got solid mounts to the frame here, and you've got a solid mount to the sissy bar here, which is tied into the frame at the axle plate. This should be more than strong enough to handle a pillion seat on there. And that was what I really wanted to accomplish. So I'm very happy with that. I'll just show you that mount while I'm here. So very happy with the way that worked out. And of course, when it's done, this steel piece being welded to the fender will be painted red like the fender, but the stainless piece will be polished. This piece right here will be polished like the sissy bar. So that's going to tie together there. I had to make a little modification to Sean's hardtail for this thing. And let me see if I can get in there and show you. So if you look right here at the axle plate, I had to notch that a little bit. And now I have to weld a piece in there just for strength and to close that off. And I'm going to do that. But the problem I had once I got, and I used this chrome hardware kit for the sprocket. Once I had that on there, it was hitting on the frame. And of course that wasn't going to work out very well. So I notched the frame a little bit there. I don't think I've taken any significant strength away from it. Everything's tied together there pretty nicely. I don't think there should be a problem. And there's still lots of the axle plate welded to this too beyond where I've notched it. So once I seal off the notch and weld that in, I think we should be just fine strength-wise. There shouldn't be any issue there. But that was just something I didn't ever want these chrome fasteners whacking the end of the frame and of course destroying the paint job and destroying the fasteners and causing all kinds of issues. That wasn't going to be good. That has changed. On the sissy bar, I bought this. I thought I was going to use it on the Sportster. I just couldn't find a place on the Sportster that I loved it. And I don't know, I've just never used it. Anyway, I had this reserve gas bottle sitting on the shelf, and I looked at the sissy bar and I thought, hey, I think that works. And I don't know about you guys, you can give me your opinion, but I think it does work on that. So I'm going to run that hanging on the sissy bar. That brought me to the tail light, and the tail light is the thing, like the battery. Boy, oh boy, I agonized over this tail light. I thought, what am I going to do? And again, I expressed this on another episode, and I will say I don't like being pigeonholed. I don't want to be that guy who always mounts my tail light off the left-hand side with the license plate. I've done that a few times now. And for me, it's okay. I know builders have kind of signature looks and stuff like that and things they do all the time. And that's fine. I got no issue with it. For me personally, I do not want to do things the same all the time. This bike is totally different than anything else I've built. I mean, totally different. I'm not even going to tell you I love everything about it, but it's different. And that's what I want to do. So when it comes to mounting the tail light, the type of front end, the type of paint, whatever, I want to change it up. I want to keep evolving. I want to keep doing things differently. So with that in mind, I looked at the tail light, and I've always, and again, this is just a personal thing. Don't get all wound up on me about it. I don't like tail lights on the sissy bar. I don't like the way the wiring works out necessarily. I just find sissy bars, to me, the sissy bar looks so clean, even with that gas bottle on it, which can come off and then it's super clean. I like sissy bars clean with nothing hanging off of them and stuff. That's the look that I prefer. It's not the right look or anything, it's just the look I prefer. So I thought, well, we could mount the light off the sissy bar. I would do that for a change. And I looked at it the other day and I thought, no, I just don't like that. So what I've come up with, and I have to hold it here for you. I've come up with this tail light with a grill on it, so it matches. That's all good. Nice chrome piece. Everything's good there. And then what I decided to do was make a bracket to mount it. And I sat down and fashioned that, and that will get chromed. And the tail light is going to sit there. So it's going to be a fender mounted tail light right there. I have no idea where the license plate is going, and I really don't give a shit. License plates are just a pain in the ass. They're, to some degree, in my mind, unnecessary. I don't like them. It may be going on the back of my vest. I'm not sure where the license plate is going, but as I say, I just really don't give a shit where it goes. I want this bike to look good as this bike, and this bike does not include a license plate. So, again, just one of Bruce's little pet peeves or idiosyncrasies or whatever you want to call it. That's an update on the bike. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld, no, I'm not going to weld, I'm going to tack that kickstand in place. That's the last thing that I'm really concerned about. I'm going to tack that in place. Alfred and I can roll this off the stand again, put it on the kickstand and just make sure the angle's right, everything works out. You know what, I'm going to switch to the other camera to close this off. So Alfred and I will roll the bike off the stand, make sure the kickstand works, the angle's right, it doesn't fall over, that kind of thing. And then I think we're ready to tear it down. We are going to, in here, this cross piece where the backbone comes into the hardtail kit, That's a very substantial piece. It's nice and thick. I think it's, let's see. Boy, that's got to be close to half an inch thick. So it's a very substantial piece. It's nice. What we're going to do is I'm going to drill probably 4 holes in it, equally spaced nicely. We'll drill holes and tap it for, I think, a 5/16 course will be fine. So we'll tap it for a 5/16 bolt. And that will give me something to bolt. For example, if I need a plate to mount the voltage regulator and maybe even the coil on, that'll give me a way to mount that after the frame is painted. That's the only thing I can think of that I haven't got an actual something welded to the frame for. And I don't know that, for a voltage regulator, you don't need to weld tabs onto the frame and stuff. I think it'll work just fine if we bolt it underneath there. With no electric starter, there's a real nice gap right behind the engine, between the engine and the backbone. Really good in there. So coil and voltage regulator might fit in there. I might be able to get the voltage regulator under the pillion with the Moto gadget. We'll see how that all works out. That's where I'm at. I will, I'll do another episode on engine stuff because there's a lot of stuff there to talk about that I think is worthwhile. That's where my XS650 chopper build is at. Really happy with where we're at right now, and we should see some pretty significant changes here in this next, couple of months. All working out. It's great. Happy you joined me. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, do all of those wonderful things so that other people see this. And we'll keep plugging. We'll keep doing this Speed and Color thing, and hope that you're getting something out of it. Really appreciate you. We'll see you soon.